In India, as in many parts of the world today, there has been an increase of fundamentalist movements where religion and ethnicity are being politicized. In India, this is called communalism, from the word community, and has led to several riots during the last 10 years. In these processes, where religious identity is being emphasized, the construction of the other is often central. The image of women in this context is often as bearer of cultural purity. She is the mother of the nation and needs protection from the others. If she is raped, the whole community or the whole nation is raped. In this film, you will meet some activists from the women's movement and share their experiences and thoughts from a feminist perspective around the issue of identity. The answers how to solve these conflicts are not easily found, but as one woman said to us, genuine transformation can only come from working with the complexity of what you're changing. This film might show you some of these complexities.
If I speak of my own experience, I'm born a Sikh. I'm very much educated in English-speaking schools. I have never thought of myself particularly as a Sikh. Yes, my father has a turban and we're Sikhs, but he is religious, and it's not that the family is very much thinks of itself as Sikh. In 1984, after Indira Gandhi's assassination, there were mobs coming down this road. And there were people ringing us up saying, keep your lights out, remove your nameplate, and hide. Because they had lists of all the Sikh houses and they were attacking them and burning them down. Now just the other side of the colony, this is D block. C block, all the Sikh houses were attacked, and you were getting phone calls saying, well, they're coming this side. And I was suddenly, it was the first time in my life that I was forced to identify myself as a Sikh, and I was identified by mob violence. And it's very funny, a friend came over, and partly as a joke, I smoke, and Sikhs don't smoke, right? And as a joke, they said, oh, you just step out of the door smoking a cigarette and they'll do nothing to you. And for me, that was somehow it was a very horrible moment, because partly I was suddenly identifying with the sense of being a community that's being hunted. And simply because my father has a beard and long hair and I wear a kada, that I'm suddenly now going to be a victim of some kind of violence. And on the other hand, that who I am and the way I live my life is something that's nothing to do with that, actually.
One of the communal riots between Hindus and Muslims was in Bombay in 1992. There had been tensions for a while, but the actual riots started after the news was spread that a mosque called Babri Masjid had been demolished. Hindu groups were planning to build a temple on the very same spot. Hundreds of people were killed and over 1,000 were injured.
What my mother was telling me that time, try to remember some people saved too. Not only killed, saved too. So you have to keep your truth in that. So very balanced views also came out. But now the situation is very frustrating too. Because I can see Indian society is dividing on many aspects. Class, it's okay, caste, religion, and everything is being politicized.
women in the minority community or in any community might be looking at themselves as people with different identities. So women can look at themselves as women, and at that time they're not looking at their religion, or they could look at them as primarily a religious person. So I am a Hindu, I am a Muslim, I am a Christian as one identity. It could be another identity which they might also look at, that I am an Indian, I'm an Indian citizen. Or you might look at another identity which you're not born with, like I'm a professional or I'm a writer. Yeah. So you could have different identities. And at different points of time in your life and politics, these identities could overlap or could clash with each other. And that would give rise to differences with differences. For example, I would say that as a Muslim woman, I have an identity of a Muslim, but I also have an identity of a woman, and there are maybe problems which I feel are not answered by me being a Muslim about me being a woman. And it's not always possible to resolve that. So how do we resolve it is one issue. And the other is that I might have the same views of me being a woman being similar to a Hindu woman's ideas of me being a woman, right? So where does that leave me with the Muslim community?
I would say that globalization and incomplete modernization, which is what we have, like, say, a fairly high advanced degree of modernization in some areas of life and in some parts of the country, and very little in other parts of the country. So it's like a uneven, incompleted project of modernization. Causes a kind of a breakdown of traditional social institutions which give you a sense of security and a sense of who you are. So I would say that, particularly in large cities, there is a crisis of identity, where you are definitely moving out of certain ways of describing yourself, certain sets of values, certain ethical codes which have simply been there for a long time. Those are changing. You are not very sure what you're actually adopting. The only values that are available are market values. There's very little new moral discourse. So in that sort of situation, there is a need for purity and morality. And I see the Hindu right wing offering that.
People around the world. Whether you're looking for the performance of a Pentium 2 processor-based PC or the economy of an Intel Celeron processor-based PC, there's an Intel Inside processor that's right for you. Intel, it's that simple.
How are women affected in times of conflict and tension as women?
Firstly, I think as soon as conflict begins between different communities, the first thing that gets done is restricting women's mobility. You cannot go out after certain hours. Sometimes you cannot go out at all. And in some of the slums, women even had problems going to the toilets, because men would go out, but women would not go even for toilet outside because it was not safe. So there were days that was one of the issues that was completely restricting women's mobility to what anything. I mean, it's not a question of going to work, but it's even a question of something as basic as going to the toilet, because toilets are outside. So the fear is that the other community will use women of our community to take revenge or to show what's happening or to show their power. So everyone is treating their women as a kind of property that they have to protect. And the other side of the community will look at women as, we will show them what needs to be done. So women are in both ways used as, not part of the community, but something that have to be protected or attacked. So mobility is the first thing that gets restricted. The second thing that happens is a lot more emphasis on what women need to do is show the culture, emphasize that they are from this community much more than what men have to do. So suddenly you see a lot more women wearing parda, which they didn't wear earlier. So women wore more parda, like even in educated women, in trains, suddenly you saw a lot more girls in parda. So they were going out, but they were making a statement that we are Muslims and we like to be that way. So it's a kind of a way in which the community is passing part of its statement that they would like to make to the society, as well as assertion of their identity through their women. So that, I feel, is quite strong after the conflict is done. The other thing happened during the time of crisis is that you use the symbolism of each other, either to run away or to be able to just get out of that situation. So a lot of Muslim women put tikka just to get away. Even Hindu women in some situation wore burqas and ran away. But that was more a kind of just a strategic thing to get away from that situation. So it's not symbolism in the same way as becoming a permanent thing, but just using different symbols which people would identify with.
One of the groups that have been working with the issue of communalists is Action India. Action India is a women's organization that have been working for a long time in the slum areas of Delhi.
लोग घरों से बाहर नहीं निकलते हैं। जो मजदूर करने वाला व्यक्ति, उसको रोज का कमाना, रोज का खाना वो कहाँ से होगा। मकान सब टूट जाते हैं या घर बर्बाद हो जाते हैं और एकल हो जाती हैं, तो उससे भुगतना किसको पड़ता है? हम औरतों को पड़ता है और गरीब लोगों को पड़ता है। बड़े लोगों को कोई असर नहीं पड़ता। मंदिर मस्जिद के लिए जो लड़ाई कर रहे हैं, वहाँ पे कौन पूजा करने जाएगा, कौन वहाँ पे नमाज पढ़ने जाएगा? कोई इस तरह से नहीं होगा। इस तरह से बोलकर हम लोगों ने वहाँ पर भी जाके sometime back in Seelampur, the area next to this area. So they had gone to that area and they have educated different people and they have told them that there are no such problems. Means all these violences, all these riots are being created by upper class people, the ministers and all. So they are being dealing with all these things and they don't want that. Means they only want that main, the layman. Means the people who are at normal public, they should suffer for it. They are not going to suffer for anything. If riots are occurring, the normal people, the normal public will going to suffer. And it means the people, they are fighting on the Babri Masjid and this temple issue. So it's hardly matters, because who cares who goes and reads this namaz and who's going to read their Hindu communism, these things. It hardly matters for them, because they know that they have to stay here. So there should be unity in between them and not there.
And that time I was working voluntarily in my organization, and there were no funds to travel the whole nation. And then I applied to Times Foundation and for the fellowship. And on that fellowship I went to 8 states, Muslim majority states. And I visited Muslim families. I went to Muslim women, and what I found that their priorities are modern secular education first, and then security, and then employment, and then laws. 4 demands came out from them. And when I was asking them about laws, they said the maintenance law for Muslim women which that government passed is not correct. Where we will go? And in the name of Islam, they were telling that every religion says about humanity, so why not humanity for women? And why there is no sympathy for women then? Where we should go? What we will do? So they were not for. But what their question was that they passed the law for Muslim women, but they didn't ask us. They were very clear.
Why should Muslim women trust the majority, even if they say they're feminists?
No, but we must try. No way without trying. Hard work we have to do, and we have to prove. I cannot blame their interest. They are honest, but they are not serious about their strategies, I think. Because what happened was, what I feel as a Muslim woman, that analysis were there based on ideologies and not based on people's views.
You start and I want to finish
Within the women's movement, there were always groups that had people from all communities. But because the larger number of women are Hindus, obviously the group was predominantly Hindu. But there were always Muslim women, Parsi women, maybe 1 or 2 Christian women. In our group, the Forum Against Oppression of Women, we came across a sort of a problem when a Muslim woman who was very much integrated and part of our group decided that she wanted a separate women's group. And my first reaction, I remember at that point, was that why does she want to set up another group? We've given her all the support. We've never acted as Hindu, and we've never seen her as Muslim. We've all been women together fighting for different issues. So why does she want another group? And then when I sat down and thought about it in a bit, I thought, no, it's better that Muslim women have their own space where they can talk about their problems, maybe freely. And the reasoning I gave myself was that didn't we as women ask for that same space from mixed groups? Right? We asked for that when the men also said that, you have the right to do whatever you want, do it. We said no, we wanted our own space, we wanted to do our own theory building, we wanted to take our own actions. So if a Muslim woman asks that, or a Christian woman asks that, I really don't have any ideological leg to stand on and say, no, you shouldn't do that. And I don't think that we should look at it as some sort of fragmentation. We should rather look at it as women's groups multiplying and having strong links with each other. So we can share as well as have separate groups which can work for different causes.
Are women themselves active in communal politics, or would you say they are being used?
No, I don't think one can say that women are used just that way. Women are emphasized, any kind of emphasis on culture, the women become the bearers of that culture. And that's true of any situation. Like you see within the majority community also, the women are the one who are fasting, they are the one who have to wear saris. Men can wear Western clothes, but women have to wear the typical Indian tradition or the Hindu tradition have to be continued by women. And it's the same way. And I think it doesn't happen just by force. There's a lot of consent of women within that. And women do recognize, especially in situation of crisis, community as more important their identity as, or their conflict in relation to gender. And they emphasize their community and assertion of their community as also their own. So I think it's not just being used as if they're just passive about it. And in some situation, especially during the riots in Bombay, we found that women were very active in both fighting against the attackers or also taking part in the fights. They were quite active compared to any time earlier. But there were also a lot of women who fought to help other people. So, you know, you get both kinds of images of women. But the community is emphasized very much during the period of crisis.
I believe that what's happening right now is that we are being pushed by political forces, by the forces of the market, by globalization, into narrower and narrower notions of identities. We're being fixed. And that the best defense to that narrowing of identity is not positing an alternative identity, but it's keeping multiplicity alive.
Showing the movement, showing
to recognize the millions that are within me, to know that I'm plural, and to celebrate that, and to always be aware of your own plurality as an individual being. Because for me, that is what actually is a deeper level of resistance to being narrowed down to a particular identity, either by the house that you were born in, or the work that you do, or an ideology that you may have adopted, but to know that you are all those things as well as many other things, and that you actually move between these.
My birth certificate says I'm a woman. My passport gives me a nationality. Where I live, the Christians call me Hindu. At work, they don't see me at all. In my parents' house, I will always be a daughter. For the market, I'm just the one who pays. What I am is sometimes a question of where I am, and I will never be just one.